we're here in Connecticut, Paulette and I. This is a road trip to teach a bunch of students how to do tricolor over palladium, but we're also working from black and white originals and color. And what we've been doing is splitting the channels for CMY, and we've been making negatives from the color images with a platinum palladium base image. But what we've also been doing is going into a feature called Blend If, which is a double click on your layer and you will see this function where we can separate the highlight region, the midtone region, and the shadow region. Now I don't know if that came across, but what we're trying to do is mimic with platinum palladium and gum over traditional silver gelatin quad tone prints, which is something I've been doing for years, over 25 years, where we make a silver gelatin print and then we bleach sepia the highlights, and then we put sepia into the highlights, then we add gold toner for the upper midtones, and then we selenium tone for the shadows, and then at the very end we add iron blue. And for years the success rate of doing the iron blue has been problematic, and I've always been having problems with that, but I love the look. Now what we're doing here by combining Photoshop functions with film and making platinums, we can separate the highlight region, the shadow region, and the midtone, and apply beautiful color into those regions. And over this weekend we're going to see how these students react to this and how difficult. I believe it's going to be simple, easy, and fun, and I think it's going to be a groundbreaking print process that we can put out to gallery shows from here on in. Thanks. Underlying reason for continuing photography is the permanence and the ability to leave behind a legacy is what I want to do. And the only way that I think we can really leave behind a real good legacy is with silver, platinum palladium, carbon transfer, gum, pigment and gum. We're concentrating on digital negatives, a palladium base, and then gum, colored, applied color. So Jim, who's the most famous photographer in the world, and what is the image that...
Steichen.
Steichen, what year?
1915.
And what was it?
The moonrise over the pond.
And what process was it?
It was platinum gum.
With applied color on.
With applied color.
That's what you're going to do today. So now, almost 100 years later, we're now doing it the way Steichen did it 100 years ago.
Involved with the New England Large Format Group, not from the beginning, but pretty close. I met Steve at one of the large format conventions. Steve was talking to me about this. We had taken a trip to Toronto and said, you know, Mr. Carnie's doing this workshop. Would you be interested? And I said, I'm on board. Let's do it. The workshop has been wonderful. It has not been a nuts and bolts kind of deal. Sometimes you get into workshops and the questions get into super detail. They've kind of kept that a little bit lighter so that we can get more hands-on to do prints, and hopefully that will, not hopefully, but I will be interested enough to follow up with this and then get into the nuts and bolts on my own time. Yes, we've Bob Carnie showed us what's entailed in making a digital negative in the output, what we're trying to do output-wise, not so much the nuts and bolts of the computer and gigabytes or programs or software, but has given us places to go for that kind of stuff. But here's the negatives. This is how we got there. Now get in the darkroom, make a platinum print. Here's how you coat a platinum print. Okay, once it's dry, now we're going to start adding color based on our different, each person's individual image. He's given us recommendations as to what primary colors to start with, so that when we're done we'll get an image that's maybe a little bit different than what we expected, but in a good way. There would be something more better or worse, and at least we'll know on the next time around which direction to go for.
The trick is to try to put down 100 steps of tone. If you can lay down 100 steps of tone, then you've got every possibility at your fingertips for making decent points. We separate into the 3 colors, CMY, cyan, magenta, yellow. But we do a black and white conversion instead of the K. So CMYK, the K is a black printer in most printing processes. We're not using the K. We dump the K, and we use the palladium as the detail. The process we're about to do is right in the middle between a frisson and a dye transfer. So we're going to be a little bit rough, but a little bit better detail because we've got exact registration. We're using this registration. Nobody else that I'm aware of is using it right now. Our control strip was better here than we have in Toronto, and we're freaked out about that. Why is it better here? And it could be the better.
States, Bob.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Well, a little bit has to do with me.
Yeah,
It's most definitely Steve Sherman.
I will tell you something about this whole process. Humidity, water quality are 2 of the most important elements in this kind of process, whether it's palladium, platinum, gum over, and not jumping around like a fish out of water when something goes wrong.
With typically, or what we want to do is, we always make sure that we've got one of the registration marks at the bottom of the image, so the printable area. You can see, we've got our stripping, we've got everything lovely, lovely.
And that's emulsion down, right?
This is emulsion down.
Okay.
It is always emulsion down,
Yeah.
just like in the darkroom. That seem to. Well, I would highly recommend using that. It just seems that this little, it's just not. It doesn't snap down quite. It needs a rinse in between processes or in between trays. Only because the more you rinse, the less crap you have in the trays at the end. Nice long, beautiful strokes. So like edge to edge type of idea. Then that way, and the chemistry amount that we're using is
Oh, yeah, I agree.
perfect for an 1114. So feel free to go edge to edge all the way around.
ABS, which is black.
Common thing.
So I just
Do you have a tool that we could use for prying?
Yeah, pretty much, yes, yes. Little ACDC, whatever it takes to get this sucker going. Little bit of distilled water on the tip. You want nice, yeah, you want nice long strokes. And then you go the opposite way. Is water. Especially with the palladium print. If you are going to make an error and if you are going to have a loogie in the middle of your print, it is because you have gotten a water droplet. It took me forever to figure it out. Typically for platinum, I only use
I think
platinum.
Bostic was willing to take it back
I've used
and analyze
creams
it
quite a
and all
bit.
that.
We have
In
So let me reach back
silver gelatin printing,
so you can see what happens.
Steve,
Because all
myself,
these
and
different-
all kinds of printers will like to put some split tone
I can't remember
into the print to archive it better, like sepia selenium. So the sepia, we'd bleach the print, and then these highlight regions here, like the higher ones, they bleach out a little bit, they go whiter, and then you add the sepia in, and the brown goes into the highlight regions.
And that if you cross-tone
So-
those images,
We can do the same thing with over top of the palladium. So what we're going to do
potatoes
is we're going to make a layer,
and gum,
and this is the fun part.
that you get,
You double click on this layer here,
and these plates.
and blend if comes up. If you don't, this is another thing too about printmaking,
quite amazing.
and I want you all to understand this, is that when you're making prints, the best printmakers in the world don't get freaked out about it's got to be perfect. So good printmakers get over themselves, and then they start letting it happen, and then they look at it and then they walk away from it a bit. So if you want perfect looking prints, make inkjets. It's the best technology out there right now for making high-end color imagery. But if you want something that is like a jewel, like something that is just, you look at it and you say, holy smokes, that looks beautiful. Something that will move you, this process can take you to that, down that garden road. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It ain't over till it's over.
It ain't over till it's over, and sometimes when you think it's all over, you put it up on the wall, and people are saying that's a brilliant print. You gotta just let this process happen, and not get too caught on the fact that it may be light. You may find out that we're gonna darken it.
Sure.
But we're not gonna know until you start laying down your pigment.
Yeah, layers. Yeah.
Layers, because we're not gonna know 3 steps. So we're 1 step into it. Here, we're the first stage. Then we get into the palladium and it starts looking good, and then you put your first layer and it starts looking like crap. And you say, we're wrecking this. And then you put on the next layer of gum and say, oh, I get it now. Now they start looking beautiful. So don't panic.
I'm
Okay,
ready for my shadow layer page.
shadow.
It's best to kind of move it closer to the pig.
So that, Marie, yours is coming.
Okay.
I always have to remember not to drink too much coffee.
So Peter, Rudy,
Shaking of it.
we're looking at this. What's the dominant color in that scene?
Brown.
Brown.
Cyan.
So it's the opposite, what you're saying.
Well, I see a lot of brown down here, but I see a lot of moss. And when I mean dominant color, what makes up green? What 2 colors? Pass me the chart, please.
Yellow and blue.
I mean yellow. And
No, not yellow and blue. Cyan and yellow make green. Cyan, yellow make green. Let's nail this contrast a bit by deepening the shadow. So, you know in the sliders, when you hit black and you bring them across, all of a sudden the image looks fantastic. That's what I'm suggesting Monty's going to do here. He's going to set the blacks with the blue on top of the grays that are here, the dark grays.
Excellent.
Does that make sense?
Does.
Okay, Paulette, you got your first 2. Monty's going to go blue, and
Saddle
Liz,
up, regular.
and Liz is going to go there. Okay. So we've got David Amon.
Fasten your seatbelt. We're in for a bumpy ride.
We also have one that's already coated, so while we're waiting for yours to dry, we'll hit one.
Okay.
A second platinum. Okay. So let me just show you how this goes.
I'm from Boston area, Arlington, Massachusetts. I'm a biochemist working in the biotech world. The workshop it's a very interesting experience. Both Bob Carnie and Paulette are experts at what they do, and they're pretty good teachers too. It was all pretty clear as to what the steps were for how we take digital negatives for each of the different layers, and how we go about coating our paper and exposing the paper and washing and developing and coming up with a final print. The first one that I made was just a little bit out of register, which meant that all of the layers didn't line up exactly, so it was a little fuzzier than I would have wanted. But I carried it all the way through, and that turned out to not be a problem. But in anticipation that it might be, I started a second one where I actually learned how to lay the layers down and register it, and went through the same coating and processing steps, and came with this one, which I like quite a bit. It's quite a bit different from the first one. So I'm thinking that this is definitely going to be a process that I incorporate into presentations for photographs that seem to lend themselves to this.
I would make sure you're getting into this white rebate here, and even onto some of these registration marks. I didn't mention that earlier, but I recommend that, because then that way, if you go out of registration, you know which color went out of registration. You can also, are well, I would make sure that you're well outside of your whole entire visual image area, because then that way it just makes it easier to match. Nice dark green. As you can see, what we've got right now is we're at about a 69-ish degree water temperature. You can see the yellow coming out of it. That is the dichromate. This is the most dangerous part of this process right here. Do not need to fuss over this right now.
So you slid this into still water.
Still water, just leave it alone. Because essentially, this is now a really delicate. Glide it back in. There you go. And now you can give it a little bit of a shuka. And yes, that is a technical term.
Personally, I'd put the gold in on that highlight.
As a mid-tone or as a
Highlight, as a highlight
The
right
highlight
now.
mask.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this one's deep into the platinum is looking quite nice in the mid-tone
So
section.
do the gold as a same exposure as the as my original platinum print.
As your original cyan.
That's what, and remember what I said earlier about the thing where it's sitting there the whole.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? This is artwork, and it's subjective anyway,
Exactly.
and nobody's ever gonna know if there's a mistake or not.
This looks like a cyanotype.
Yeah.
Cyanotype lasts 200 years. This will last 1,000 years. There's the big difference.
It's already
I'm gonna
lasted.
wait and see if you're right.
Yeah. We can all meet at his grave, can't we?
But we do know that pigments last this long.
Sure.
But that's quite beautiful. And that's exactly what it would have looked like in 1905 or whenever that was. The artists back then may have done it this way.
Yeah.
Right? So you're mimicking, not mimicking, you're actually making. And mimicking is not the right word. You're actually making.
Recreating. How's that sound?
That sounds very good.
Yeah.
My name's Robert Jenks. I'm a fourth-generation photographer from St. Johnsbury, Vermont. My great-grandfather started my business in 1886, and I'm the fourth generation keeping it going. Every time somebody asks me about NELF, I always have to try to sound it out. New England Large Format Photography Collective, and I never remember that, so I usually throw out Steve Sherman's or Jack Holowitz's name, and then people can kind of connect with it that way. I used to be involved with a lot of other photography associations, but this is the only one I care about now. That might be a little harsh, but it's, I'm tired of going to a seminar and sitting in a chair and watching Photoshop. And to me, after my legs don't work anymore and I can't move and I've got to sit in a chair for the rest of my life, then I'll start playing with that. I mean, this gum transfer.
Yeah, do that again. This gum. There you go.
Transfer thing. And the coolest thing is the image that I've been working on is one of my great-grandfather's glass plates, which is kind of taking the very past where they used to do this process and combining it with the digital negatives and stuff to make a finished print that maybe my great-grandfather might have done, and he may not have, but
So you're taking your grandfather's glass neg, putting it through Photoshop, and then using a technique that was mid-1800s.
Right. So it's
2000
full circle.
Nothing changes.
Yeah.
It really don't.
Yeah. But I think with the whole digital negative, it's making it easier for us all to do it without, messing up an original negative.
The Achilles heel of all these processes has always been, we hear the words romantic, soft, gentle about this process because in the past most of it was not registered properly, and you'll see when you start researching this, you'll see people going to incredible steps to get the paper to not shrink. Mounting to aluminum takes away that argument. It flattens the ground. It won't shrink. The argument against this is, well, it's mounted to aluminum. What am I going to do with a great big sheet of 30 by 40 aluminum with the print on? Well, actually that's a good thing because you've already now got a perfect mount. If you have a warm object in the foreground against a cool green background, and the object is red, turn your green background to the cyan element, and you will pick up a natural complementary color combination. But I'm just telling you that like you're at the very cusp of this kind of.
Yeah, we've been feeling like that.
Let's push it out there, because if you don't push it out there, then it's not going to happen. But I can, quite frankly, this beats any commercial color portrait that I see, right? But that's just my own feelings, because I know this one will last.
Talking about the yellow
David,
when you come
have
out
you
of the
looked
corner.
at it from from this distance? Because because it's quite spectacular from this distance.
I think I've got even more work to do now.
I'm from Saratoga Springs, New York, and recently retired from public education, and now am doing various types of photography full-time. The workshop's been great. It's a great bunch of people, very well run considering the number of people in the workshop, and it's just been fascinating to learn from some real masters in the field and be able to experiment at the same time. And there's been lots of mistakes made, but there's been lots of successes and some very unexpected, happy surprises throughout. There's a lot of serendipity there, and I suppose if you do this a lot, you kind of get a good feel for it, but I don't think you would ever know 100% what you're going to get. So you kind of go in the direction you think you need to go in and get what you think you're going to get, or get some happy surprises with it. And
Metabisulfate may just
It
open
won't.
that up just enough.
Well, it won't bring the cyan in the boats that we were seeing in these, you know. But once again, I don't think I'd want to screw success too much on this one. This is a beautiful. It's almost like a hand-painted photograph.
That's the best that's ever been.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And this is try 3.
But look here. What I find incredible is the green motor. So in a color one, you can play like we are mid-tone with that blend if. You can go in and play with colors and isolate colors and make masks for that only. So you can do what they would call in the trade spot colors.
I'm Holly Gettings. I'm an art teacher in Belmont, Massachusetts. I teach photography in the traditional wet process. I also teach a little bit of digital. I live in Arlington, Massachusetts. I'm a large format photographer. I'm a member of the New England Large Format Photography Collective. We're here doing some gum bichromate work, which is an area of printing that I've been very interested in for the last 4 or 5 years now. We've been having a great time downstairs in Steve's dark room. He's got a really well-equipped dark room, which makes it a pleasure to do these processes. We have all the equipment that we need. We have a really great group of very dedicated photographers. We're all go-getters, and so we've been chomping our way through this time very productively. What I love is working with shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of photographers who know as much or more than I do about photography. So I'm learning a lot from them. I'm learning a lot from Bob Carnie, of course, and Paulette, his assistant, who is an amazing teacher herself, and looking at how they specialize in what they do. We didn't think that we were going to learn as much about negative making as we have, but it's been amazing to sit with Bob and watch him construct these negatives. He really has started to unlock the process of creating these things a little bit more for me. I feel more confident in creating my own curves and, pushing my negatives in the direction I want to, for the images that I want to make. I think that's really empowering. Every new image is a surprise. Every new image is oh my God, that's so beautiful. And there's such a variety. We have beautiful sunlit, shafty forested landscapes. We have the rocky New England landscapes with lots of pine needles. We've got my image from Mount Desert Harbor, which is all these rowboats. We've got some beautiful portraits. In fact, there's 2 portrait artists who are working on great skin tone and beautiful blue eyes. It's been amazing to see the diversity of work that students have been bringing to this workshop and how well the gum process adapts to all of these topics. I'm very pleased with this rendition of it. My one little red boat here comes out very clearly where it was getting lost completely before. I love how I've got natural green harbor water underneath here with the green highlights in the sun. And I've got my delicate faded colors on the dories where I want it. And I was not able to get that before. So this is clearly in the realm of creating the right negatives.
Jumping in here. Who's doing the metabisulfate?
Nobody right now. It's covered.
So far right now. Thank you very much, my friend. Nice. That's a really nice.
Yeah.
Essentially, this is a potassium metabisulfite wash in 10% solution. What we're doing is we are ensuring that all the dichromate from the gum bichromate process is rinsed out properly. So we are leaving it in the solution for about 45 seconds, and then it is about a 45-minute wash afterwards in a clear water bath, just to ensure that there is no residual staining and no long-term damage to any part of the print.
So it's not an instantaneous thing.
It's just slowly happening. The whites are just cleaning up a little bit. Stepping in.
This is yesterday?
Yeah. 10 seconds.
What'd you say, 45?
Yeah.
Gene, could you just hold that up?
Well, it's in shadow right now.
That's impressive.
I'm coming over in 10 seconds.
That's impressive, man.
But you see all the amounts of time it goes in the water. If you don't have this registration system, there's no way you can do this. It's like, forget about it.
I'm from Durham, Connecticut, and I'm a professional photographer. I deal with portraits and weddings and events and babies and animals and all week long. I'm a charter member of NELF. I was there in the beginning when they started it, and it's been 12 years now. It's been a fun and very wonderful learning experience, and I can't say enough about being with this wonderful group of people. This time, we've had several workshops over the years. Every one of them gets better and better and find more useful and more useful. This one probably has gone over the top with what my expectations were to what I realized, and I can't say enough about our two instructors, and look forward to working more in this medium, the tricolor over palladium. But it was also a great learning experience from the beginning to the end. We seemed to pick up it quickly, so we kept moving on it, and it was a lot of fun.
I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm 49 years old. I shoot formats from 7/17 to 10 by 12 all the way up to 20 by 24 inches. The camera's about 60 pounds and has lenses that weigh upwards of 20 pounds. It's a haul to get that camera out. Wow. But if you have a shot that you're excited about and committed toward, it has a really neat experience. I got started in photography through alternative processes. I learned platinum and palladium as my first process in photography. My second, other than just turning 35 millimeter over to a lab, but as a serious photographer, my first process was platinum palladium. I've never done silver printing. And I started realizing I wanted different size prints, and digital negatives hadn't been really raised to a level that could compete with film at that time. And that's how I ended up with the different size cameras, as I wanted different size prints, and I wanted some large prints. And through the pursuit of large format photography specifically, I had the good fortune of having my sense of community broadened, and I met Steve Shermann at a large format photography conference in Rockford, Illinois, and had a wonderful time catching up with him and meeting him. And as a result, you continue to pursue different formats, or not formats, but processes. And I've had a chance through some online sites to meet Bob Carnie, And I'm always amazed at the mystery of life in which people who are pursuing similar things find each other, you know, through good fortune, through word of mouth, and well, you should know this guy because he's doing similar things. And Bob and Steve came together, and through that I came together with everyone, and it's been a really wonderful confluence of events that have led us here. The workshop here today and over the weekend has just been spectacular. I'm really excited because I started in platinum palladium as my first process, to be able to add some nuance and layers and growth to that process and add gum over platinum palladium as a possibility. It really excites me. More so because two world-class printers in Steve and Bob are the ones passing on the information, because not only do you get the actual nuances of the process itself, you get their years and years and years of experience. And there's probably not a dollar figure on getting to hear people talk of that caliber in one room, and not only at the conference, but over lunch, over dinner. Different offshoots of the topic start taking place, and you just adding layers and layers and layers of learning that are really exciting. And I'm looking forward to going home, being inspired by this workshop and taking this process and seeing what, you know, Monty McCutcheon can do to it and add his little flavor to the vapor of all this that's out there, and that's exciting.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to the gallery opening. Make sure we get an invitation.
You got it.
Thank you,
Pete.
Hi there. So my name is Bob Carnie, and I'm in Connecticut right now, leading a workshop at Steve Sherman's darkroom. And with us is Paulette Michayluk, who is helping us with this whole weekend. And we are at this end of a 2-day marathon of making gum over palladium prints. And we've had a lot of success this weekend. This is a sample of one of the prints that we've done this weekend. We're working towards another workshop in December, and it's going to be a 4-day workshop where we expand on what we've done here today. So we've had 15 people in here today. We've made 2 or 3 prints each. We've played with black and white images, adding on tone in 3 different layers. We've split channels, we've separated film out, and we've stripped all the film together, and everybody enjoys the process. And it seems that we're getting results that are making people quite happy. So we'd like to see you in Toronto in December. If you want to come, we probably will do this biannual, so the next one will be in December for 4 days, and in the summer we'll do one in July for 4 days again. And the 3 of us will run these workshops over the next few years, and hopefully we'll have some of the people from this workshop come. We've already been taking some people in Toronto and surrounding areas, and you know, we hope you come.
Steve, you could talk?
My name is Steve Sherman. You are in my darkroom right now in central Connecticut. Bob Carnie and I have teamed together to create some all-encompassing analog. That's my specialty, analog photography, with a very specific specialty in negative design. My function at the Toronto workshop in December will be negative design, camera movements, how to learn what to learn in camera movements with a view camera, thought process in the field as to how to create depth and dimensionality in a negative. Bring it back, process it with a process that I perfected 10 or 12 years ago, known as reduced agitation development. That's all going to be done on site in Toronto. Then you'll come into the darkroom with me and make silver gelatin prints with a method that I call split correction contrast printing, and we'll bring it through to museum quality mounting of those images, and you'll have the 3 of us to critique your work and your thought process as to how you go about making images and arriving at your own aesthetic. So we look forward to you folks communicating with us leading up to, and not only leading up to, but also as your career path evolves. Do stay in touch with us.
I'm Paulette Michayluk. I've been working with Bob Carnie for the last number of years. I've only recently met Steve. I'm typically the person who is in the darkroom during the couple of days, helping people with coding, with working with the different chemistries, rinsing out, understanding how the process works, and a good workflow. And essentially, Bob and I have done a couple of workshops together. We've always had a great group of people, and I really look forward to getting to know some more people in the darkroom.